Welcome to English Insights. We believe that learning English is not just about grammar and vocabulary, it's also about understanding life, feelings, and real human stories. Have you ever felt tired of your busy life and wished you could go back home, back to your family, back to a simpler time? If your answer is yes, then this story is for you. Today, we'll follow the journey of a man who lost almost everything, but slowly found his way back to peace, purpose, and home. Let's begin the story of The Road Back Home. Part 1. The Fall. Daniel used to live in a tall building in New York City. He wore expensive suits, drank strong coffee every morning, and worked in a big office with glass windows. People called him Mr. Smart because he was very good with numbers and money. For 10 years, he worked as a financial advisor, helping rich people invest their money. He had a big salary, a fast car, and many contacts. But Daniel was not happy. He worked 12 hours a day. He had no time for friends, family, or even himself. He missed birthdays, weddings, and quiet Sunday mornings. His phone never stopped ringing. His life was fast, loud, and full of pressure. One day, everything changed. Daniel made a mistake, a big one. He trusted a client who was not honest. The man lied, and Daniel believed him. As a result, the company lost millions of dollars. People were angry. His boss shouted at him. His name appeared in the newspapers. And just like that, Daniel lost his job. He tried to stay calm, but inside, he felt empty. He walked through the city streets alone, watching people laugh and talk. He had no one to call. His apartment felt cold. At night, he couldn't sleep. His head was full of questions. What did I do wrong? Why did I choose this life? After a few weeks, Daniel packed his bags. He looked at the city one last time from his window. The lights were still bright, but they no longer felt magical. He took a deep breath. It was time to go home. He hadn't visited his hometown in 15 years. He didn't know what to expect. Would his parents still live in the same house? Would they welcome him? Would they forgive him for leaving without a word? The train ride was long and quiet. Daniel sat by the window, watching trees, rivers, and small towns pass by. Everything looked simple, peaceful, very different from the busy city he had left behind. As the train stopped at a small station, Daniel stood up. He felt nervous, like a child again. He carried only one suitcase. He had no plan, no job, and no idea what would happen next. But for the first time in many years, he felt something real. Hope. Part 2. Back to Roots. The air felt different in Daniel's hometown. It was clean, quiet, and smelled like trees and fresh grass. Birds sang in the morning. The sky was wide and blue. After so many years in the city, everything felt strange, but also peaceful. Daniel walked slowly through the town. Many places were still the same. The small bakery on the corner, the school where he used to run during break time, and the park where he rode his bike as a child. But some things had changed too. There were new shops and new people. Time had moved on. He stopped in front of a small white house. The paint was old, and the garden was full of weeds, but the windows were open, and warm light came from inside. He stood there for a moment before walking up to the door. He knocked. A few seconds later, the door opened. It was his mother. Her hair was grayer, and she looked older, but her eyes were the same, soft and kind. "Daniel," she whispered, her hand over her mouth. "Hi, Mom," he said, his voice shaking. She hugged him tightly. You came back. Inside the house, everything felt familiar. The smell of old books, the sound of the wooden floor, the photo frames on the wall. But when his father walked into the room, the mood changed. His father didn't smile. He looked straight at Daniel and said, 15 years? No calls, no visits. Why now? Daniel lowered his eyes. I made mistakes. I lost everything. I didn't know where else to go. His father crossed his arms. You left this place like it was nothing. Now you want to come back like nothing happened? I'm not the same person anymore, Daniel said quietly. His mother stepped between them. Let him stay, at least for a while. The next morning, Daniel woke up early. He looked out the window at the garden he used to play in. Everything was quiet. He felt both sad and calm. He had a long way to go to fix things. Later that day, he walked into town and found a small grocery store with a sign, Help Wanted. He went inside and asked the owner, an old man named Mr. Harris, if he could work there. Mr. Harris looked him up and down. You ever stocked shelves before? Daniel smiled a little. Number, but I learn fast. Come in tomorrow at 7, the man said. That night, Daniel sat on the porch. The stars were bright, and the air was cool. He had no big office, no expensive suit, and no fancy life anymore. But maybe, just maybe, he had a second chance. Part 3. A Spark of Hope. Working at the grocery store was simple, but it was not easy. Daniel woke up every day at 6 and walked to work. He carried heavy boxes, cleaned the floor, and helped customers find what they needed. At first, his back hurt, and his hands felt tired. But slowly, his body got stronger, and his mind became calmer. One afternoon, as he was placing apples on a shelf, someone tapped his shoulder. He turned around and saw a woman with short brown hair and a warm smile. Hi, she said. You're Daniel, right? I think we went to school together. I'm Claire. Daniel looked at her closely. Claire Williams? You sat behind me in math class. They both laughed. Claire was now a primary school teacher. She had stayed in town, unlike Daniel. They began talking more often. Sometimes she stopped by the store to buy groceries, and other times they met in the park and talked about life. Claire was full of light. She loved her job, cared about her students, and always saw the good in people. Daniel liked that about her. One day, he told her everything about New York, the mistake at work, and how he lost everything. Claire listened quietly and then said, You didn't lose everything, Daniel. You're still here. You still have a heart, and that's the most important part. Her words stayed in his mind. The next week, Claire asked him a favor. Some of my students are having trouble with math, she said. Would you be willing to help after school, just for an hour? Daniel agreed, though he felt nervous. The classroom was small, with colorful posters on the walls. The children looked at him with big eyes, unsure at first. But Daniel began with simple questions, and slowly they started to answer. He showed them fun ways to understand numbers, using apples, coins, and games. After a few days, the students looked forward to seeing him. They smiled when he walked in. They raised their hands with excitement. Daniel felt something he hadn't felt in years. Useful. Word spread quickly. More parents wanted him to help their kids. Even Mr. Harris, the store owner, said, Looks like you've found your real talent. At night, Daniel started sleeping better. He no longer thought about the past so much. He was busy with the present, and for the first time, he liked it. One evening, While walking home, Daniel stopped by the river and looked at the sky. The stars were out again. He smiled to himself. Maybe this small town still had something big to offer. Maybe, just maybe, he was healing. Part 4. Turning Point. Daniel's days were now full. In the mornings, he worked at the grocery store. In the afternoons, he helped students with math. People in town started to know his name again, but not because of his past mistakes. This time, they saw him as someone who cared. One Saturday, Claire invited Daniel to a community meeting at the town library. Local people talked about their problems, jobs, money, and education. A woman stood up and said, "Many of us don't understand how to manage money. We don't know how to save or plan for the future." Daniel listened carefully. He remembered how, in his old job, he used to give advice to rich people. Now he thought, why not help regular people too? After the meeting, he spoke to Claire. "What if I started a free class? I could teach simple lessons about money, how to save, how to spend wisely, how to stay out of debt." Claire smiled. "That would be amazing, Daniel. People need that." So, the next week, Daniel held his first class at the library. Only 4 people came. He used a whiteboard and spoke slowly, using clear examples. He taught them how to make a budget, how to avoid using credit cards too much, and how to plan for the future. The next week, 10 people came, then 20. Some brought notebooks, others brought questions. Daniel felt excited. He was doing what he loved, but this time, it felt more meaningful. One evening, after class, Daniel's father came to the library. He stood at the back, arms crossed. Daniel saw him, but kept teaching. After the class ended, his father walked over. "You're really doing something good here," he said. Daniel was surprised. "Thanks, Dad." His father nodded. "You're helping people. I didn't expect that." There was a long pause. Then his father added, "Maybe I was too hard on you. I just didn't want to see you fall so far." "I know," Daniel said, "and I'm trying to make things right." The next day, something unexpected happened. Daniel received a call from a man he used to work with in New York. "We heard about what you're doing," the man said. "There's a company in Boston looking for someone like you, someone with heart and experience. They want to offer you a job." Daniel thanked him and said he would think about it. That night, he walked along the quiet street, thinking hard. A big city job, a big salary, a fresh start. It all sounded good, but also scary. He had found peace in this small town. He was helping people. He was becoming someone he respected. He stood under a streetlight, looking up at the stars. Was it time to leave again? Or was this finally home? Part 5. The New Path. Daniel sat at his small kitchen table with a cup of tea in his hand. The job offer letter from Boston was on the table in front of him. It looked nice, good pay, a big office, and a chance to start again in a big city. But his heart felt heavy. He thought about the students at school, the parents who came to his money classes, and the kind people who now smiled when they saw him in town. He thought about Claire and her calm voice saying, "People need someone like you." That afternoon, he walked to the park where he used to meet Claire. She was sitting on a bench, reading a book. "I think I know what I need to do," Daniel said. Claire looked up. "And what's that?" "I'm not going to Boston. I'm staying here." Her eyes lit up. "Really?" He nodded. "I don't want the old life again. I want this one, simple, real, and full of purpose." Over the next few months, Daniel worked hard. With help from Claire and some friends, he opened a small center in town. They called it the Learning Room. It was a place where kids could get help with school, and adults could learn about money, jobs, and everyday skills. Daniel used everything he had learned, not just numbers, but life lessons too. He told people it was okay to fall, as long as you stood up again. He helped them believe in second chances. The town supported him. Local shops donated books and supplies. People volunteered. Even his father came by once a week to fix chairs and carry boxes. One day, he put a hand on Daniel's shoulder and said, "I'm proud of you, son." Daniel didn't say anything, but his eyes said enough. Claire became more than a friend. They spent more time together, walking, laughing, dreaming. She helped Daniel stay grounded, and he helped her believe that change was possible, even in a small town. One evening, as they sat outside the learning room, Daniel looked at the sunset. The sky was painted with orange and pink. "Funny," he said. "I used to think success meant money, power, big cities." "And now?" Claire asked. "Now I think success means sleeping well at night, helping others, and knowing who you are." She smiled and took his hand. "Then I'd say you've made it." Daniel looked around. The quiet street, the trees, the small school in the distance. It wasn't loud or shiny, but it was enough. He was home.